Hey, what's up? You guys have come to another RC Conspiracies. Tonight, we have a special guest with us, Pilot Ryan Media. We'll be beginning shortly, so chill out, relax, leave some comments for us. He's already talking in the chat. He's getting it on. So if you're joining us later, I'll put a little time code down in the description and also usually in the title and let you guys know where this thing will start up. Usually around the 2:30 to 3-minute mark, depending on the intro. So just hold on 1 minute. Just listen to that bass line.
Shady silhouetted images and industry teasers are finding their way into our homes and invading our minds. Their calculated information is delivered to feed our addiction for radio-controlled frequencies. It's an RC conspiracy. But we are on your side, cracking the RC code. Because the truth is out there. Welcome to the RC Conspiracies podcast.
Earl Warhead's favorite part.
Ready. And put on those tinfoil hats because your fearless leader is here. Please welcome your host, the lead RC conspiracist, Tony Cece. Tony Cece. Welcome to the RC Conspiracies podcast.
Hey, what is going on, guys? I am out of focus. Why is that? Hello. Hello, camera. You can do this. We're paying you the big bucks now. Come on. Make me manual focus you. Is that what's going on here? That's close. I feel like it's a camera conspiracy show going on right now. Testing the autofocus of these Fuji systems. My goodness gracious. What's going on, guys? It has been a slow week in the RC world. But that is okay because we have an awesome show planned for you tonight. We have Pilot Ryan Media. Ryan is sitting in timeout right now. He's here, but he's in timeout, so he'll be here soon. Don't you worry. So I'm gonna get to things real quick here, guys. We're gonna hit up the normal stuff and let you guys know some of the cool things that are going on. There's Ryan. He's jumping in. I'm swiping the wrong way. We've got the While My Battery's Charged podcast. If you guys like podcasts, we have that available for you. And as always, right on the page here, you can go in and you can hit up the store, pick up some T-shirts. Ryan's got some as well. I've got the new RC Bashing Is Not a Crime ones, as well as RC Conspiracies, other things. And then Ryan's got his website here, and right from here, you can get to his merch, all of his different stuff. It's pilotryanmedia.com. So, Ryan, man, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Tony. Pleasure.
And if you guys are hearing any weird echoes or anything, please let us know because I don't have this set up exactly properly, and I can make a few changes if that is a problem. Anyway, Ryan's here. We're going to talk about RC. We're going to talk about a little bit of conspiracy stuff, not a whole lot. There's a few things that are coming potentially that we've seen because of something I saw on Harley Designs today. He does a Scale News update. And there's actually something that might interest you on there. And
Awesome.
So, yeah, I know you've got that X-Max, so you can guess what brand I'm talking about.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
may or may not have something coming.
You're fuzzy, bro.
I'm fuzzy. I got to find that sweet spot because my autofocus is not working. There it goes. Snap. Boom. All right. They're saying it sounds good. So Ryan's here. Ryan's, from the name Pilot, what would you guys think that he does as one of his main things, as well as the lawn dart sticking out of his head there in the background?
Yeah.
It's got the plane. It's a glider though, right?
Yeah, that's a glider. It's like a night glider, so it's got lights like crazy. I get to do all kinds of stuff like you do. You get to try out all kinds of toys, and so that's one of them. And it's funny because the only time I have to really go out at night and get it done is the night I do my weekly live stream. So I still haven't got that thing up in the air yet, but those are easy. I mean, there's also an F-22.
Yeah, that looks pretty rad, actually.
Right there too. There's so much stuff. I mean, we're just blessed over here.
And there's a pretty sweet thing over your left shoulder as well. Something in matte black, it looks like.
Yeah. Oh man, that thing is sick. The
sick.
Felony.
That's
Felony.
Like the hot new car. Now, what's crazy is that our local hobby town sold out of the Infraction V2 first.
Wow.
There were still Felonies on the shelf when I went in there the other day because I went to look at the blue Infraction and they were out of it already. It sold out they heard it was in and like 3 guys came in and bought them up immediately.
Hot ticket, hard to get. We have friends in the business and things and you can't get them.
Nope.
And good on Horizon for getting them to hobby shops instead of having an online inventory, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. So I had to go to my, I called them. I said, hey, are you getting these Felonies? And they're like, yeah, we're getting 2. And when I got there was only 1. I wanted the black one anyway. I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. And
Did you order the handbrakes for it?
I didn't.
Okay.
I just so pumped to get my hands on one because I wasn't sure I was going to get to. And being a video guy, it's nice to get in on kind of, the iron is still hot, so to say. And the video I did on this, I did the night I got it. Like I didn't even go home. I had batteries with me, calibrated the throttle, all the stuff.
No unboxing for this thing, straight to the street.
Right out of the back of the car with a crowd. I opened it up a little bit in front of the store, and then I went and found a school I'd never seen before on the way home. And just, I'm watching guys drift this thing.
He's going back to high school. He's doing burnouts in the school parking lot.
I'm telling you, the dream's coming true every day. And Surface is great because for us, it's a lot more deliberate. The planning, I feel like, to go fly, especially if you're a video guy, it's like getting a band together. You have to plan and coordinate, make sure you got your SD cards, everything's charged up, ready to go. The batteries go through, planes and jets go through the battery so much faster than Surface. So you have to have a bunch really ready. And the Surface, I can just crank it out by myself and have fun making videos.
Right. That is one of the tough things. I mean, it's one of the reasons I kind of got out of doing the drones, honestly, was that doing videos was so hard to do. Like the amount of time that it took and those guys that are doing the drone videos, sheesh, the amount of time that they spend working on them, doing all the calibrating with the computers and all that junk that you got to do with tuning them to make them fly good with all those 4 motors and tuning the ESCs and all that so that they all fly properly and you don't get like wobble in your footage is insane. But then also like trying to film them. And I guess theirs is a little easier because you're not tracking it with a camera from the ground.
But it's a whole nother ball of wax. Like I've been flying I started in 2009. I mean, really, I haven't been flying that long. I got into the hobby and I got it really bad, really fast. But I don't know a thing about drones.
Yeah.
You know, if you mention to a lay person that you fly, everybody always assumes you know what's up with drones and things like that. But there's so many facets of the aviation hobby. I would say that what we do is really the kind of recreational side, historical, general aviation, military, you know, nostalgia, golden age aviation. I mean, we all dabble in a little bit of the stunt, extreme 3D and things like that a little bit, but most guys are cool loafing around in like a World War II fighter or like
guys that can stall it, like
hover. Yeah.
That hovering stuff.
We do it. I can do it a little bit, but I've been flying for the camera for so long. I just want to show it and share it well.
Yeah.
And then the art's
hard to do. You have to have another camera guy, right, to do it.
Oh, 100%.
To do plane stuff. So we'll talk about that a little bit tonight. There's a lot of guys in here. JMRC's 11 Charlie, Gap, Kevin Gibbs, lots of people in here. Earl, they said, has 5 felonies.
Whoa, they're going to catch him soon.
That'll land you in prison for a long time, my friend. 15 to life.
You got some heavy hitters in here. Wasn't JT in here? I saw Earl.
JT's in.
Bunch of guys.
Yep. JT's in. What's up?
My guys.
Your guys are in here.
Sick.
And it's I've been going to the local high school as well. It's funny to go to the schools and do just rip it like 70 miles an hour in their parking lot and upwards of that. And I've got this new place that I love. It's just wide open, and I was just there again this week, and I found my splitter for the front of the Felony when I did that little where the curb divoted and I jumped down and then jumped back up. It was sitting right there in the middle of that little wheelchair ramp up to the sidewalk. That's where it was. You know, if you weren't, I feel like I was at a school ripping it too
last night. And it was too dark for the film to be any good, but I was trying to find some good jumps. Your video was super inspiring. Like super nice to see that low rider get some air. I like jumping them. That's why the bashing is what got me hooked on the surface side.
Yeah.
But now crawlers in this thing. But you know, if we weren't over there looking like dads, completely safe.
Yeah.
You know, I got khaki cargo shorts on, socks, and some Adidas flip-flops. I'm absolutely no threat at all.
Right.
You know, playing with an RC. Now, the RC is pretty intimidating, but I'm not.
Yeah, and that's part of it, you know. And I was just there, but it was during school hours, so I'd been there with the Felony, and it was in the evening, and I was with my son, and no issues. We went back the other day, man. The parking lot was full. And I'm thinking, man, with COVID, what is going on here? Packed out, like the parking lot. Luckily, they weren't on the side where we have the open area, but it's not really where I wanted to run the vehicle that I was running the other day. And Trailer Trash has a question. It's the answer is a resounding yes, and that is the Felony the best street basher? Hands down, man. Well, infraction or the Felony, I would say either one of them. The infraction is probably actually the better street basher because of the gearing being the same and the wheels being the same. I feel like it opens up and breaks free a little easier. In fact, I was honestly at the Hobby Town trying to get another infraction. That's why I was there. I wasn't trying to look at it. I was trying to get one, and they were gone.
I almost popped on one right before the show.
Oh, yeah?
The pre-order on the silver one, yeah. I want blue, but they I don't know. I think everybody wants blue, and so you can't pre-order the blue one. At least last time I checked. And
you can't even pre-order it now?
Well, you couldn't pre-order the blue one, and then you click over to silver, and it was like it would let you do it. But I still didn't have some of my stuff in order yet, so I wasn't going to go. Wow. So I haven't checked today, but the other day I was checking, and the silver one was like the only one you can get. And I haven't compared another street rod, you know, so this is, I don't know, but I knew this is the one I wanted just on looks alone. I mean, come on. It's a 68 Camaro, right? I mean, basically.
Yeah.
Dialed in, looks sick.
Yeah. I got a lot of eyeballs when I was there with my son looking at that thing. Andrew Melton has actually a curious comment here. It says he shredded his RC monster truck in the local high school and got so many weird looks. I didn't film because it's kind of illegal. Is it illegal to film on school grounds? I would think only if you're filming children. People film football games and all kinds of stuff, halftime shows.
I mean, if they're bummed out about you, I mean, look, if I'm filming, it's like it's on my head down at the car, or it's like on a little tripod set up at little hip, little jump. Like I got some sparks out of it.
Oh, did you?
Without titanium.
Without titanium. I just bought some.
You're going to put I need that link because I totally want to get some. Yeah. And then I for the guys who are just kind of worried about the tires, because everybody's talking about the tires. First of all, if you can find some, get yourself an extra set. But I have run it 3 or 4 times. And all I'm doing is burnouts, not like speed runs, like drifting. And I'm just now starting to see the belts a little bit.
Okay. You've seen the belts already. Okay. I'm not seeing them. I've been doing a lot of burnouts.
Have you?
Yeah.
All I'm doing is drifting. And
okay, the drifting's where it's at, man. Like, I know people love to go fast and, they'll chase the speed game, and that's just not me. I've seen too many people hurt. I've seen too many cars destroyed and in a pile, and I'm just like, I'm not in for that. Like, not right now, at least. I got too many cars to work on to put that much attention into one. Because, it really takes a lot of attention. So I'm with you. I'm into the drifting them.
Yeah, dude.
Focus VA says F-22's flying out of Langley now. Love the jet noise. He's near me.
Nice. F-22s are
Chesapeake, Virginia.
They fly, they fly good. Being a guy who's got to fly like so many of these models for 5 years, I was at one company that had a lot of stuff to sell, and I got to fly various sizes of mini aircraft, and I never liked the looks of an F-22 until I flew one. It's kind of like you just don't know till you get your hands on it how it's going to act and behave. And I think us pilot guys get kind of into the character exhibited from the way these things act. And so the F-22 never had me on looks, but boy, it's got me on the way it flies.
It flies awesome.
Well, look how big and wide and lightweight it is. So it'll rip it up. Yep. It'll rip it up, but it'll also slow down. Think about sticking your hand out the car window, big and flat. You get that thrust going and hold it. I like going slow with jets, like nose high and just thrusty. It's good for video and it's fun. If they're going fast, you don't get them for long. Film 100-mile-an-hour car.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time it's GoPros and really small and zinging by.
Yeah.
GoPro on the head and, kind of whiz by. And, that's probably why I don't do a lot of that. Is it's not super enjoyable. I love that people are hitting speeds, and I love to hear their enjoyment when they do. And, there's that adrenaline, but it's like a long video because typically you don't turn off the camera from the time that you show the setup and the battery until the run. So that it's zeroed out and what batteries are running and whatever they're doing to get their speed is true, 0 to down back until they show you the speed. And so, and then everything's really small and you're watching them go way down and you're waiting for it to come back. And so I think that's part of even I started doing it because people asked for it, but it's not ever been, people tell me like in the laser nut to put the bigger gears in on 4S. And I'm like, dude, 40 miles an hour, like 39 miles an hour with that car is way more than I needed to do. I'll never really get it at that fast going down the trails through the woods or on the rocks where I run it. I just need the wheel speed every once in a while.
There's some stuff I like to leave alone. Like with the crawlers, I'm not messing with them. I'm gonna take them out and crawl them. Part of the relaxation is knowing I really don't probably need to fix it when I'm done. Well, and in the Felony, unless I really hit something, actually I have the splitter in the vise right now because it chunked something and I got it getting straight. But the bashers, I'm going to have them apart. I'm going to be fixing them. You're going to sometimes land in the power and all those things and be digging into diffs. But yeah, I like not having to really worry about this one, but maybe change the tires eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, they're durable too. And RC Guy Garage is right. There is that, you do have the in-camera footage too that you can use. That really makes them more interesting. But it also has then that built-in GPS that gives you the speed, so that's good. Before we get into too much more, I want to learn a little bit about how you got in. You said just 2009, so 11 years you've been in it. So tell me a little bit about what drew you into RC in the first place, and where you started playing surface, and what grabbed you.
I'm not going to work backwards, but I will say this: surface just started for me like within the last year. Like I finally got to it. I was kind of wanting to. But the airplane thing, so I'm from Muncie, Indiana. I'm not there anymore, but that's where the Academy of Model Aeronautics is. I got into model airplanes kind of right when airplanes were beginning to have electric airplanes available, which made them more accessible. But this is still not LiPo batteries or brushless motors. So I got in the game on the precipice of like brushed motors with gearboxes, really anemic, and nickel metal batteries. And so, and there was not safe technology in AS3X. Nothing had gyros in it. There were only a few games in town. There was always Horizon, but for what I was seeing, I wasn't completely impressed, and it seemed expensive as somebody who was just getting into it. So I would buy these like foam kits. They called them like no power system, like slope gliders, but they weren't. They were like warbirds, and they knew you were going to put your own motors in them. They're all foam. And so started making these things like electric, brushless and LiPo powers, and had a good time with it, and was reading some magazine reviews and things, and just really got into it really kind of heavy with my dad. And he was flying. He bought this thing called a Wing Dragon pusher prop, super ugly, doesn't exist in real life. And I bought like a Warbird, heavy metal fighter, because I grew up in an aviation family. I thought I knew what I needed to know, and I don't need to start with a beginner plane. So I went for the hot rod right away and completely smashed it to bits over and over and over, And before I knew about, like, we use a lot of CA glue, which is like use a kicker, an accelerant, which can just set that glue right away, and you can fix these things really quickly. I didn't have that.
Like the Super Gold?
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have that stuff yet. So everything I was fixing looked like a science fair project. I had like Elmer's glue and straight pins. It was like Hellraiser. It was just the worst. But I stuck with it, just was in love with it. And I think the fact that it was difficult actually had my attention also. It was hard.
Yeah.
And all the crashes look alike. And I start watching YouTube. I was off the grid until I found RC, honestly. Ironically, here I am. I can't get off the computer and social media. But it's like RC really got me to online and learning how to use it at all. So you find forums, and then you learn some things, and you find out that most of the stuff that's available, at least for us, was online. You guys know hobby shops do way more surface business than air business. And if you talk to the big guys, they'll agree. Surface is huge. Air is even more niche.
It seems huge, though, when you look at Horizon, because they have so much.
Yeah.
I went to RC Fest last year, and it was like plane, like everything planes. And even if you look at their web or their Horizon YouTube, it seems to be really air oriented in a lot of ways. And then partly that's because they push the new product videos to the individual company pages, I think, for Surface. So when you look at Horizon from the outside, at least for me still, and I see it, everything seems very air focused or oriented.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. And I think maybe partly too, all of us are sitting in a bit of maybe a shift, in all of that, where I think surface maybe wasn't always as big as it is now, but it's getting there,
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's more. I don't know. I think there's more of that. I think it was, for me, it wasn't on my radar forever, but yeah. So I fell in love with it. Decided I read some magazine reviews. I was like, hey, I can do that. And I got an opportunity I actually just bumped into somebody.
And you jumped in quick. So
I did.
So you say you just you read some reviews. Like, when is this? How long have you been into it?
That's like 2009. Like when I had been doing it a year and a half.
Okay.
When I bumped into a magazine person, I said, hey, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Whether I could or not. and kind of worked it out. And I started doing articles I self-funded the first few because, I mean, look, everybody's
That's
in line.
You got to start. Yeah. And people don't realize that. Video, photo, whatever field you're in, you do some pro bono stuff just to prove that, hey, I can do it. And you got to build a portfolio.
Yep.
In a way. Yeah. So you did some.
Because folks, listen, everybody's heard the free plane, the free product. I mean, you really are working for it. Yeah. And so but there are many people in line for it. So yeah, like you say, you're gonna, if you get your foot in the door, you're gonna leave it in there. And if I have to go chase down, he's like, you have to self-fund your first model. So I didn't only self-fund my first model, but I found one from a company in China that nobody had really heard about. And it wasn't in any of the magazines being advertised, nothing. And it was from a company called Windrider, who was making kits much like what we were used to, these earlier foam kits where the fuselage is in half, the wings are in half. You're installing all the plastic hard points that you're going to then screw together later. You're installing your own electronics, all this stuff. So I sourced this World War II SBD Dauntless. It's the thing that turned the tides at Midway,
Yeah.
And I had lots more time, and I did a real good, write-up and history study. I mean, I would do these articles like once a quarter. So I would have time to really dig into, the history, read an autobiography, whatever, on these planes. And then, of course, do all the model work and compare and contrast. So really, magazine was kind of my first foot in the door in the industry. And then I'll just fast forward a lot. And then
so that was you started in 2009, you started doing articles right away in 2009. Is that what I'm hearing?
Probably 2010 and a half.
Okay.
Like really early in. Once I could do it consistently, like I was all in. Okay. And electric airplanes were like golden age. They were just going from this crappy gearbox system, nickel metal batteries, to lithium power. You actually get some speed out of them. There's starting to be a lot more options, and more people were getting into it, and easier to fly than the things that I was getting. Some of this early foamy junk all had the same description when you went to the website to get it. No matter if it was a beginner plane or a hard to fly plane, it would say perfect for beginner, 90% pre-assembled. And the radio was like 27 megahertz. I mean, somebody down the street couldn't open the garage door or cook a bag of popcorn without wrecking your plane. Seriously. And so it came a long way really fast. I mean, if you guys who don't have any idea about it, go check out some of the jets and stuff on the channel now. I mean, it's amazing what we have now. Really what seems like not that long ago, it was garbage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I even look back at the first Traxxas I got 7 years ago on the radio. You get antennas.
Yeah.
Have little sword fights with them at the track. But yeah, I want to get to a question here because you might be able to answer this better. I definitely wouldn't be able to. And it's a question I have now because of the drones kind of raising questions about flying and whatever.
Yeah.
And Focus VA is asking a good beginner plane for beach flying. Also being close to a military base flight path, what rules would be in effect?
Yeah, and this is where the air side is a little bit different, and it's definitely can be dangerous because of where they're flying. And that's kind of why model aviation makes the news now. It's usually because of like somebody who doesn't quite know the rules and will maybe fly a drone or something too close to an airport. So don't quote me on this, but something like, honestly, within, I think, 3 miles radius of an airport, you're not supposed to be up. And over 400 feet, you're really not supposed to be.
Did they bring it down to 3 miles? It used to be 5.
I think they might have.
Okay.
But check it. Don't quote me.
That makes it so hard where we are. If it's when it was 5 miles for sure. And
you have to seek out a club. There may be some exemptions. So most of us guys who fly airplanes are members of a local club. And to be a member of that local club, you have to have your AMA membership. And
insurance through that.
Yeah, that's insurance through that. Partly. That, and also it gets everyone on the same page. So I was flying Rogue for years when I was learning. And then I get around guys and I learn that, there's these rules that everybody knows. 400 feet, basic common sense kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Don't go screwing around with a real airplane, But
planes too, man, they get too far away and it's sketchy anyway. It's different than a drone where you're looking through goggles and you feel invincible because you're seeing. It doesn't, as long as you have clear vision, it doesn't matter how high or far you are, right? But with a plane, it's a little different ball game. So I never took my planes too high.
Yeah, and I mean, I never do either because I want to see them.
Yeah,
and that's the one difference thing about this.
FPV changes things, I think, in a little bit
completely because people will go on like missions, like far away. Like with us, at least in our kind of sector of it, like we're all flying line of sight. I mean, you're standing there and you're basically going to fly Indy 500 in front of you,
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to do some things, we really try to light it up in the videos. If you're flying with a bunch of people, you have to be responsible and kind of follow this pattern. But for videos, it's like we wait till we can have the sky to ourselves and like rip it.
Yep.
But so to answer the question, there are so many good beginner airplanes, but my advice would be to seek out a club close to you, and because they're going to really be familiar with your area and they can answer those questions with more clarity than I can.
Yep.
But simple guidelines, you're not going to be flying in the flight path of real airplanes.
Yeah, and if you're wanting to take off on the beach too, like you're not going to have wheels. They're going to do that anyway. You're going to be hand launching it, and you're probably not going to want wheels. You're going to want to belly land it into the sand, if anything, right?
Yes and no. I mean, there are a lot of like what they call short takeoff and landing planes with some like big tires.
Little timbers I've seen. That's what I've seen. Yeah. That's what I'm interested in.
There's one guy that flies at a beach all the time in California, like jets and stuff. So, I mean, think about how smooth the tide can make it. And hard packed, actually, sometimes.
Okay, so if you're down by the water.
Yeah, he could go down by the water, low tide. I know, it's crazy. He's fighting sand and salt water in these jets, but his name's In the Tube Deep. Sounds like he was a surfer.
Yeah.
California guy, Yeah.
In
the Tube Deep. So shout out to him if you want to see a guy flying jets at a beach, which is a little sketchy because it's pretty public.
Yeah.
Most of us are going to fly this stuff like at a club. And that's the one thing about airplanes is it's like destination shopping. You have to on purpose be pretty deliberate about going to do it once you get to a certain point. There are loads of smaller planes that can get along in little parks and stuff safely. But I hope that helps the guy out. I would definitely reach out to a club and see what they really say. And
a lot of our parks don't actually allow flying.
I can
flying,
see it.
There's
always a club somewhere. You just have to.
Clubs. We have 2 of them in Chesapeake near me, so
you just have to seek them out.
Yep, there's two flight fields within 15 to 20 minutes of my house. One of them's within 5 minutes of my house.
I was stationed in Little Creek.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
nice. So you weren't far from here. You know where we're at. Yeah. So I'm down by Moyock.
Okay.
Last exit before you head to the Outer Banks?
Okay. It's been a while, man.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So,
but yeah, be safe. Don't do it around the airports.
that was the only thing with drones is finding. We had the hobby shop, and it was in this little triangle of free space where you could fly. And when it closed down, like I'd go there on my lunch breaks, and then I was like, I don't have any place to fly. And then I'd fly them once a year, and then broke them because they seized up and stuff, and just got rid of them all.
Did you start on drones? RC?
No.
Okay.
No. Nope. I started on cars, and then the DJI drones, then airplane. I got an apprentice.
Yeah. Still a great
SE.
one.
Yeah. And it has a nice safe feature, but that was like, I never did the video game one or the real flight, and I know that's the way you should. I mean, I did play it, I guess, in the hobby shop 1 or 2 times.
Yeah. You
but
got to
I felt
really
pretty
sit
confident
down with it.
And so I flew it fine, and then I was doing, loops and flips and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, where you really need that game is when you get into trouble, right? So I got up, and I was upside down or something, but I went in front of the sun, and I couldn't tell what was going on. It was going down, and I freaked out, and I didn't know which way it was, and I just stuck it into a cornfield, and thought it was I thought it was lost. Like, I couldn't hear it. I ended up just walking way out into and we got copperheads and crazy snakes out here. And so I'm just walking out there looking and just turning the motor on and off, hoping I'll hear it buzz, hoping it's still on. And
you
finally found it. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah. Fixed it up. It wasn't too damaged. Got a little CA glue, fixed it, and I still have it, still fly it. It's pretty cool.
Isn't that something? I mean, they really can. Especially when they're light like that and not a lot going on. The fancier they are, kind of the more it hurts you when they crash. Because let's say if there's landing gear going up and down and a bunch of control surfaces, but by the time you're flying those things, you've got more stick time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like I could learn. Like I could not learn to land with real flight. Because you can't pre-look, the view stays on the plane, and so you can't spot your landing. You can't do things you would do in real life, and so you could never really get it lined up. Now I can do it. Now that I've flown the real plane, I can actually do it. But
it's everybody has this. Actually, we even have a video on the channel. My old partner, Captain Mike, did this video on situational awareness, and it was all about getting a new guy's head out of we call it zoom vision. The guy be so focused on the plane, that's when you run into trees and things, is because you're not really looking ahead at all.
Yep.
We actually.
And that's the thing that the game felt like I was feeling, is like you couldn't look off the plane.
Yeah,
it always just kind of stayed on it, and so I could never look to spot where I wanted to land. Like in real life, I can look and see and kind of gauge, a lot.
Most of us, I think, feel like real flight's one of their best advantages is kind of muscle memory that you develop.
Yeah.
And once you're done playing with all the cool stuff it can do, really to practice with real flight and get the most out of it, the line of sight, standing in one spot and trying to keep it close is kind of the best thing to do.
Okay.
But, after magazine, when the YouTube channel started, me and I had moved from Muncie. I was here in a new town. Mike came by the field that I had just joined, which was real close to the house. And he's like, hey, you mind if I try flying here? And he had this big, awesome, foamy P-47. And I was just kidding him. I said, yeah, if you let me try that. And he was like, sure.
Oh,
no. But we started doing flight lessons on YouTube. So it's actually, they're cringy now, but if you go way back on my channel, there's like a playlist called Flight Lessons, because we had taught a bunch of guys how to fly in real, life. And so we're like, that's good stuff. Let's do, YouTube. I tried to do YouTube when I was in Muncie with my wife filming, and she just was not into it. And so she'd seriously,
ready to be done. Yeah.
Start snapping in 2 minutes. It's like, I still got 5-6 minutes left. I'm not ready to land yet, Anyway, so me and Captain Mike, started doing this flight lessons thing, and just kind of fast forwarding, like 9 months later, we got recruited by this company. I did 5 years there, and then I came back to the original channel like 2 years ago and been
That's
crushing.
awesome.
Yeah.
So you were doing 5 years YouTube specific to a company.
Yeah.
And then,
social media, the whole thing. Learned it. Marketing. Because I mean, it was awesome. I mean, that company was new, and you're always learning, right? I mean, 9 months in back in 2012, because that's when I started this channel. And then it was like 2013, I went to work for those guys. And I, just left there a couple of years ago. They're doing great. But they were new at the time, and we all learned together. And I learned, like I told you, I was off the grid. But they had their own like brands and stuff. So we did video reviews of all these products, but like super pumped about the proprietary brand, they had, which that we were working and getting to do that and share it and showcase it with the world. And, it starts off, you're just making videos, you're doing magazine stuff. And then like the buzz, the community, the people become just like, holy smokes, this is, and you can do it all the time with your, engage all the time. You might get to fly or run once a week, a couple times a week if you're lucky, but you get to engage with your buddies like all the time. So after, 2020 now? So it's like, I'm kind of in the groove online. It feels like it's nuts. It's nuts.
It's insane what being online has done for a lot of things. And just kind of the information that not only we get in real time from the companies and what they can, before we'd have to wait for magazines and all that to kind of announce new stuff.
So far behind. Yeah.
And now it's like, well, RC conspiracies, right? We're talking about it before they even potentially come out and are fully announced to the world. And
well, check this out. So doing magazine stuff, I actually did an article the other day for Model Aviation, but by the time that article comes out, us guys here in YouTube land, video folks, Facebook, social media have already, it's 3-4 months old.
Yeah.
By the time it's making it to print. So what a weird place to be,
Yeah. Although I still love it. Like even when articles feel a little dated, there's something about holding that magazine in your hand and just kind of flipping through them. I don't know. I'm still old school a little bit in that I still love to have RC car action or whatever in my hands and reading it. But so you got into YouTube and you were doing it, but you just got back into your own 2 years ago, you said?
Yeah.
And you just started. What got you then to start doing surface stuff? Like you were hot in working fully doing solely flight stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what was it that made you say, hey, what's that? Like,
so working for the company for 5 years, it was very easy to do their products only. Didn't think about surface at all. And then back, and so there was a steady influx of products to do. We just were holding down the fort, and whatever they needed, we would do. And we'd always stay busy. I had a quota. I was putting out X amount of videos a month for like years there. But once I got on my own, the drill, you become really YouTube brained, and because it's just you and the YouTube kind of, and the people and the views and all these things it takes to keep it going. And I enjoyed so much what I was doing that I did not want to not be doing it anymore. And I knew that if I were going to do, not lose that I was going to have to get busy.
Yeah.
Stay busy, stay in the new stuff, just like I was before. And so I don't think that's exactly what put surface on the radar, but it just was something that started to grab my attention. And I remember the Christmas before, I was telling my wife, I was like, hey, I want to get my boy the Mini T or something. I think it was like 350, maybe 250, ready to run. Low Z. It was like blue and yellow, open wheel looking thing. I didn't know anything about them. I wanted to get that for my kid, but I wanted it for me. And she's like, yeah, go ahead and get it. Use your airplane money. I was like, nah. so months go by, and
Airplane money.
yeah,
Yep,
I'm
that
watching
little-
YouTube. I think I probably stumbled upon Kevin Talbot.
Yeah.
I think I had a conversation with some other YouTubers, and I was like, it just like the magazine stuff. I'm watching some channels, some like surface channels, and I'm thinking I can do that, and I want to do that.
Yep.
This looks cool, and YouTube is awesome. I'm starting to, for the first time. I mean, I did that for a company. That channel was never monetized, but for, being on your own for a minute, seeing things kind of start clicking is like, I want to make sure I can always kind of make videos actually. And I want to be able to play. I love RC, but it's so hard to get flying done. I mean, the guys who know me know that every time I get a chance to fly, you guys usually see it. So it's not like during the week I'm getting out there off camera. It's like, man, it's for, I got a bunch of little kids and we're busy.
Yep.
So I get to go play more often because I'm doing surface closer to the house, rip up the yard. There's stuff close to me. I can go kick some rocks. You know what I mean? And that's really what's happening. And then I found you guys like you and Kevin Talbot, and I watch other channels. I was like, I can do that. You watch guys, superhumans like, Duper Bash,
Yeah.
RC Dudo 1, just send them to the moon. It's like, well, I'm not sure. I may never be that, but
yeah,
but that looks fun.
It's a different. I don't know. Even Kevin Talbot is kind of different realm of YouTube than me, right? So I do a lot of new stuff. I'll run it for a little while, and then you may not see it again for a while on the channel. I'll still run it, whatever. But like, they're not chasing necessarily always the newest thing,
Right. Yeah.
Except for in their brand, like, Duper Bash and them are doing the newest Armas and whatever they can because they want to soup them up and make them. But they're chasing like the new chassis and the new supports for them and things just to make their truck that much more invincible, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so it's a little bit different, and they, I have so many cars to maintain that if I were to do that with all of them, it would, one, be impossible to maintain them, and two, be impossible to buy all the parts for all the different vehicles to do that. So you basically have to choose kind of in a way, right?
Look at this.
But, oh, parts bin. That is pretty epic. Those look like all Arma.
Mostly, and RPM and, Traxxas. When I bought my Traxxas stuff, I bought the RPM, replacements. But no, you're right. And it's just a different angle. I feel like some people, YouTube accidentally found them. I think the best channels, YouTube accidentally found them. It's just like you wanted to share your thing. You started doing it. Years later, you're still doing it. And by kind of mistake, for me anyway, you figure out YouTube a little and what works. Those guys never even show them. They just go, the value they give is just you want to see a truck do superhuman things, so I was talking to you earlier off camera, is like there's kind of a favorite channel for all kind of levels in it. Yep. And I think you really resonate with us mere mortals really well, because it's like, I can see myself ripping its face off in the backyard more than I can, I mean, I love the construction site idea, but I haven't found one yet. You know what I mean? And I know I'll be breaking stuff, which is fine. I mean, you're going to break it. I mean, I like to see them fly for sure, but that's what's cool is everybody brings something
to carry
different.
A super ramp around it either.
Yeah. I built that ramp, my ramp I built as big as I could and still fit in that hatchback.
Wow.
So it's like 2 foot tall, like super crazy vert, almost vert. And, I sturdied it up. I had a couple of them and I built the second one just like, as tough as I could, because I knew the Outcast 8S was coming and, those things.
Yeah. I would love to hit skate parks and stuff, but I have to drive so far to get to one that's not on a city park where you have to, like, there's a guard at the gate. to get in.
Oh goodness, yeah.
And you have to pay and like be in a helmet and all that. And they don't really want RC cars there either.
Yeah.
They don't even want them in the park. So they're really not going to let them in the, you can sometimes get away with running them in the park. Other times I've been chased off. So it's mainly the planes that they don't allow, but every once in a while you get the guards that push you out for any motorized vehicle. You know, it's a motor in there. You're not supposed to be running that on the, grounds.
Yeah.
So, but
I've been run off a highway once. That's it. And that was for flying airplanes. The highway was under construction. So there was no traffic.
I just came across this today. Have you seen the guy that gets busted by the police driving his RC car on the freeway?
No.
Multiple times, like not once, just like multiple times he takes it out there and he gets like hung up on something. Like he tries to find a police car. It's all FPV. He's got a front-facing GoPro and a rear, so he can kind of give you front view, back view.
What?
And he's FPVing it, like super long-range FPV, just like forever down these freeways. It's insane. I just happened upon it today.
That's crazy.
It's like crazy RC guy or something, or RC crazy guy, something like that. But look that up, guys, if you're looking for some nutso stuff. Trailer Trash RC's in the house. He does some crazy stuff at skate parks. And in his front yard even, and catching X-Maxes off of like a 25, 30-foot jump, trying to catch it out of the air. I don't know if you've seen that.
That'll hurt you. I think I might have.
Yeah, it's pretty wicked stuff. Speaking of the X-Max, you just got one.
Yeah.
And you've run it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think? I've actually seen the video. That was one of those questions you asked that you know the answer to, but you ask it anyway.
What, you've seen the video?
Yeah.
That's fun.
You've run it, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I really like it. It's one of those things, there's these, and I'm new to surface and watching some of these channels, and there's just these benchmarks I want to hit. So I've had a bunch of surface stuff. I still have most of it. X-Max just became one of those things that I saw over and over and over take a tremendous beating.
Yeah.
And knowing how much I was fixing my, kudos to my 6S Armas for taking the abuse of learning on, though. Like I really did most of my learning on 6S Armas. And so instead of breaking, they bend, and I just still go for it,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just had to have one of those cool benchmark things. And I've run it, and check out the channel. You can see a guy kind of send it for a new guy. And I even put on some big pro lines, which added like 2.
Oh man, that's when you start breaking.
So heavy. Anybody want a set of pro lines, by the way?
Yep. Everybody I know has warned me, don't get the pro lines for it.
They're great for holding up cars.
Yeah, they start breaking everything when they'd go to the bash park where we are.
So I
they're awesome wheels, but it depends what you're doing with the car,
I don't mind the car being light. It flew better when it was light, and so what, they balloon a little bit. That truck is nice and light. My
problem was I cracked the rims, like the wheels on the X-Max. I cracked 4 wheels.
Wow.
And I would rather replace those, though. They're pretty easy to replace. You buy a 2-pack for, $40 or something, and you have a spare, and you replace the one that's cracked. But I wasn't breaking drive shafts or arms or all the other things that the heavy wheels would bust.
I had to do I did the oversized RPM rear hubs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I blew them out and broke them right away. The bearings were, I blew a bunch of bearings.
RC Guy Garage blew his bearings first run or second run.
It's easy to. And then I did the bolt on, like nylon locking nut, like pin hinges and stuff, because, and I bought a set of, the RPM arms are great because they work for all 4 corners of the truck. So instead of having specific arms, that's cool.
Yep.
And so I'm the kind of
run off the same pin system where you just kind of unscrew the little grub screw and push the pin through. That's like super easy. Yeah.
There may be something minor where you're going to drill out a shoulder or something. I can't remember. But if you put the sin or the bolt on hinges and forget the just like captive ones, I think you're okay. You might have to do a little bit of fiddling, but with the bashers, I think when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm going to switch all these arms over. Like if I get RPM arms, I'm going to put them on everything, on all 4 corners. And then I got smart. I was like, listen, I'm just going to run it till I break it. And then fix it. So my X-Max just has one corner of RPM arms on it right now.
Okay.
But I did go all the way around. I did the hubs on the back, the rear hubs with the oversized bearings.
Man, that's crazy, dude.
And then the pins all around, because if you landed bad, I actually didn't break stuff, but like the pin, it just torque and twist and the pin had come out or something.
Okay,
but
so I
did blow a pinion.
Haha, same and all this, like all these things that they're doing. I had the 6S X-Max, and I barely replaced anything on it.
Wow.
But everybody was like, oh, 35's not fast enough, and they complained. And so not even a year later, they came out with the 8S, right? Or like just a year later. And now everybody's, it sounds like, blowing the bearing. I didn't replace one bearing. The only thing I replaced was I busted a shock shaft, arm, the wheels from Huge Air Stuff in the cold.
Yeah.
And I had a kid running into my house at full speed.
Oh.
And he didn't break anything except the pinion started clicking. Or not the pinion, the diff, the front diff. And so I replaced the ring and pinion on it, and like I had like nothing ever really go wrong with that thing. It was still completely stock, running it completely, still the original ESC and motor 3 years later, original bearings after going in water, all that stuff. Yeah, I've seen that with the spur gears. What the heck, man?
Lot of teeth. But
that's like
but
pop
you know,
metal.
I'm not
Look at
mad. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
pop metal. It shouldn't have been put on. It's badly molded.
In my opinion, there's a big break on a tooth there.
And I still have the stock pinion and spur gear 3 years later.
Wow.
And you can watch the videos where I bash it. And I've seen people that take those out at the hobby shop, run it in the parking lot, and they come back in and there's no teeth on the spur gear. There's something with the spur gear metal and the mold that they're using for them. Powder. Yeah. They're like powder metal, man.
Mine held up for a while. And because I don't have much of a point of reference, like I'm actually never really mad when I break something, because I feel like I'm asking for it. And think about this real fast. Like the airplanes, they're like awesome, but they're fragile. They're fragile.
Yeah.
They're really made to be as light as they can be. A lot of us mess them up, just load them into the car, hanger ration stuff, we call it. But these trucks, I mean, golly, it's so cool to be able to just throw them around. And anybody wants to, I mean, really check out I have an RC truck playlist, which makes it easy to check out my surface stuff.
Yeah.
And there's loads more of it coming. You're kind of going to see a guy. My first video sucks.
Yeah. Wait, what was your first Surface RC?
The first Surface RC video or Surface RC?
First Surface RC.
First Surface RC was a thing that looks like the laser nut, but isn't, from Banggood. I don't even know who made it.
Okay. The WL Toys.
Garbage.
Like 11,
it did not last
green
long.
And black?
Nope. Red and black. You want to see it real quick?
JJRC probably.
Let me show it to you real quick.
Let's grab it.
And the day I ran it, I mean, it broke and stuff, but I was like, this is cool. I told my boy, I was like, I see why guys do this. And I bought the Mega Granite that night. Green one. Yeah.
Okay. I want to see if this is one I had. There was like an Eagle one or a Hawk one. Let's see what he's got. Trailer Trash RC. This guy, Trailer Trash, Ryan is near Champagne-ish, right?
So this was a gift, actually, kind of a trade. With another
that one. That's cool looking, actually.
Not bad, but it's fiddly. I mean, it's
a lot of screws to work on.
That's one of the things I didn't like.
Yep.
And I actually
that's what I love about the laser nut. I know it's got 2 body pins, but you get at those electronics immediately.
Yeah, if I'm gonna fix it, I don't want to have to do a million screws. But this, it was a 2S thing. I think it might have been a nickel metal pack too. It just sucked. Yeah. I put a lipo in it and I was like, wow, this is cool. And so that was the first one. Total garbage. But I knew right away, I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I got a Granite Mega because I didn't have any 2S or 3S lipos really. Most of the planes now we have take bigger capacity. And But then I knew right away that wasn't enough. And then I got the Outcast or actually, the
6S?
Outcast, the silver. Yep.
Oh,
And I
man.
ran it. My first video was running it at a BMX track in the snow on 4S.
Okay.
So
It's pretty weak. It's pretty weak on 4S.
yeah, it
Yeah.
didn't have enough to correct, but I think it was appropriate for a guy who didn't know anything.
Oh no, for sure. I would
You
have been
know?
afraid to do 6. It's pretty unwieldy on 6S though. Like it takes
Oh,
throttle
dude.
control.
I still have this thing, and
Yeah.
it learned with me so much that it's completely M2 seed now, and it's an Outcast. What the hell? Notorious.
Okay, new body.
New body.
Yeah.
I'm on my
I love
third
that
body.
body look. Yeah.
Dude, come on.
Tim
I gotta get
Vincent
it.
says too many body screws is why he sold his Baja Ray.
I get it.
You know, I didn't like that setup. I almost bought one at Christmas. They had them on sale, and I looked at how the battery tray was set up, and I didn't like the battery slots where you have to slide them in like that from the back either, as well as all the screws to work on it. It's like, let me open the top up and strap them in.
It looks clean because after I ran it the other day, I ran over a bunch of wet grass and it actually cleaned it up a bunch.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, very flippy.
Yeah.
So, and this one's got it's same deal. It's got one RPM arm and the rest of it's still stock.
Wow.
But
wow, that's pretty impressive.
RPM, I mean, it takes crazy hits.
The RPM bumpers are nice because I do always bend my stock bumper up and I have to pull it down again.
Yeah. The Creighton 6S was the next 6S one after that. And I will always have a 6S Creighton I got the EXB now, which everybody's in the same boat needing diffs.
Yeah.
I think. Because they're different sizes. You know, they increase I don't know what it's called, man. The big ring gear. They got the more bevel, more teeth, more surface area in contact, which changes the size of the cup, which changes the size of the spider gears inside. And I think it just transfers what do I know? But I think I'd rather just change that outside piece because it's smaller and lose a tooth. I've changed a ton of diffs when they start clicking. And I've never had to tear into the diffs on my other 6S
internally,
stuff.
right? Usually you don't have to do internally. It's usually external.
But now that load is transferred, I think, into the spider gear or something. So that's what happened. New
Sun gear where it rotates and stuff too, right? Except that's
not that limited slip, right?
The limited slip one's doing all right though in the front.
That's what I heard. The limited slip in the front and the middle is okay. It's the back that's not. And when they replace them, I guess guys are getting the limited slip for the back. But
I heard people were taking the back one and putting it in the middle, taking the center gear or center diff and putting it in the rear and putting the rear one in the center. And
here's a question for your people. Can the diffs from the regular 6S stuff be a replacement until you can get the right one?
Yeah.
The teeth are, I mean,
you have to switch the pinion off of it too. It takes I think that's right. I think you have to do, because it is different. So like you can take a whole new one and you can drop it in, but you also have to change out
that input gear.
Yeah, I think the input gear has to switch as well.
I love that EXB a lot.
Because I know that JT did that. He put he switched gears, I believe. Maybe it wasn't him. Somebody told me that they did that, but they had to do a little bit of work. But they're running the 6S version 4 diffs in their EXP and not having any issues.
But you think they switched the input drive?
I think they had to switch the input drive as well. But yeah, because I ordered one off of recommendation from Jenny's, thinking I could just drop it in, and it won't. But it sounds like I need to probably drop it in my Mojave, because I bought a Mojave used from somebody who'd been just set it up to do 8S and did a couple rips down the road on 8S. And I think it probably didn't like that, the diff, because I only drove it for like 5 minutes in the backyard, and I didn't do anything crazy with it, and it was slipping off the rear. I couldn't get any any power out of it. So something went down.
Again, I felt like when mine finally quit the bed, I had beat it up enough. I wasn't completely surprised. I mean, a little disappointed because I want to still be running that thing. I love the Creighton 6S rig. I think they'll get it sorted. I mean, you know what? I'm just glad
I think it's a matter of parts coming in too, right?
Yeah, totally.
I think once we can get those new gears to put in the right shims. I tried to order shims, so that's why mine's still in a box. I figured I'd do it right before I destroy something, but at this point, I'll just run it and destroy it and know that I just have to shim it. The gears aren't that much.
No, they're not. It's just getting them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. So the one that broke for me was the one in the very bottom of the cup. That's the spider that broke. And then I had these other diffs and parts laying around from the other 6S stuff. And so you don't know they're different sizes until you start taking everything apart, trying to make one work. And it's like, oh man, this isn't going to go.
Right. And it's frustrating. Luckily, they've made the diffs pretty easy to get at in these, the Creighton.
Yes,
it looks like it's very easy with the 2 screws there on the top of the plate that just kind of lets it open up and pull out. So you got into it. You got those. You've been going pretty hard. You got the Felony. You're still doing the plain stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
What would you tell people for YouTube in general? Like, what are things that you've learned that you'd be willing to share with people going at it hard? Because it's a lot of work, and I think for one, people don't realize the amount of work it is to do it. But I mean, all of us are in here. A lot of the people in the chat do YouTube as well. So what are things that you've learned along the way?
I think the way when I left that company and went back to my own, all of a sudden I didn't have quotas and stuff anymore. And so I just kind of, you know how the rabbit hole YouTube works, guys. You watch one, how to scrapbook with spinach leaves video, and you're going to get every one of those show up. So I would say pick out your rabbit hole if you're serious about YouTube, and kind of search out some seriously basic how to grow on YouTube, some basic search engine optimization, kind of SEO tricks and things. If you're really serious, you end up following some of these kind of social media entrepreneurial guys. Yeah. And a lot of times they're talking
like Jim or something that always does the TubeBuddy and tells
his name. There's so many of these things to follow. And so why I say that is because when it's RC or when it's the thing you love, it's hard to step back. You're just like so about the thing, the toy. But if you do want to really dive into YouTube, you kind of just got to go down that rabbit hole, and you'll learn some tips and tricks, and they'll start talking about analytics and all the stuff that seems to be above your head.
Yep.
But if you dig into the tools that YouTube offers you and take a look at some of those numbers, it all starts kind of making sense. And guys who, you hear us say it all the time, these calls to action. I get tired of saying it. Subscribe, give it a like, all these things, you know what I mean? Links in the description. You really just kind of have to get with the program, because you really have to say those things.
It works surprisingly.
It does. It's annoying,
to
but
people that are already subscribed, it's annoying, but to everybody else,
it's a call to action. They'll forget to give it a like if you don't remind them. And YouTube is, this is one I really love this subject. I mean, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, owned by the first largest search engine in the world. Yeah. So if the platform has things it offers you in the way of title, tags, descriptions, you should fully utilize those things, and call to action, all those, give it a like, stick around, watch the next video, because you're feeding an algorithmic robot every time you can keep somebody on your channel or on the platform, because YouTube is a business. So long story short, make videos that don't suck, and be kind of real and genuine and offer something.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes make videos that do suck.
Yeah. All of mine.
We were kind of talking about that a little earlier today, though. Like, they don't have to be the most polished video. Like,
yeah,
as long as you have content that's interesting and you have something that adds value to somebody,
that's right.
your video skills can kind of suck a little bit to a degree.
To a degree. You got to keep them around, you know.
Yeah.
And people are smart, whether they know why they're watching you or not. People are smart, and if you're likable, that helps. But if you are given that, you know, there's all kinds of ways you can keep people's attention. I mean, there's there's entertainment, there's good, just cinematic video, and then there's what I call infotainment, where it's like you're like trying to make a discerning decision about if you're going to buy this thing or not, and the person video you stumble across actually gives you some real things to consider. They're not trying to beat you over the head to buy it. You know, I tell my guys all the time, because look, I get to play with all kinds of toys, and it's like we'll go broke if you have to buy them all. Right. It's like, listen, I'm sharing my life, my RC life, which is I put myself in the flow like this, and so I get to play with some things, and also I'm all in where the things that I'll buy it. I don't care. Like I want to play, and there's certain brands and there's certain things that I just am gonna do regardless if the company wants me to or not. I still buy stuff from my old place I worked at. When it's something I want, I'm going to do it. So, you know, once you get a little traction, you can invest back in there and just keep it going. I think consistency is huge. I could talk about YouTube forever. Make a good thumbnail, be honest. Yep. Do a little SEO, you know, you Google search, YouTube search the thing you're getting ready to do.
Yeah.
Like this example, I've actually helped out so many airplane guys grow their channels to like they're monetized.
That's awesome.
Just with some basic knowledge. So if it's you and Gerald ripping RCs at the school, if that's the title you use, no one ever will search that.
Yep.
But if it's an Arma infraction or if it's a Traxxas Haas,
yep.
and you need a title the video with what it is and give us a good picture, because you're out there in a sea of it's tremendous amount of content being uploaded every minute.
And there's the YouTubers that are RCers that are looking for the content, but there's also the guy that was just at the hobby shop and saw an Arma infraction and goes home and he Googles Arma infraction or YouTube's Arma infraction. So if you don't have that in your title, you've just lost somebody that may not be an RC or the follower that's like, oh, he's at this place. Like always, I mean, you won't very rarely see me. People like Kevin Talbot can get away with it, you know, like the greatest RC that's ever made or things like that, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're already getting pushed by YouTube in a different way. And so then people like that aren't RCers see that and like, what's this? You know, like what is the best one? But for people that are doing general searches, for a lot of us, I think you're totally spot on with that. Somebody had a question about content versus, it was Focus VA. It says, is hardware and software more important than content on YouTube? And I think by hardware, you mean like your cameras, because I use just my phone a lot of times in GoPro. It's different for pilots and for flying for sure. I know you've got a different rig that you use for flying than you do for surface.
I'll tell you this. So I've got a pretty nice camera for flying because it's what I call photomasochism. It's the hardest kind of videography you could ever try to endeavor to do. But in the studio, for years, I got along doing build videos, tutorials, and things like that off a cell phone.
Yep.
So it's none of that matters. And really, if you want to
be, it does a little because you want to be able to zoom.
Yes, you
if
do.
It's too far away, nobody's going to want to watch the video.
But if you definitely true. And that's also, you can have the best camera in the world, but if you never fly it close enough or fly it for the camera, knowing that you've got an audience that you're flying for. Right. I mean, I started off with this magazine stuff. I was flying for a camera before it was a video camera. So I felt like I had a leg up and I like to see the thing.
Yep.
So that kind of helps. I'm not flying to show off my skill. I want y'all to see the product the best I can and still like have a good time and show what it also can do. So most of the flight videos you see are definitely, because the runs are shorter, we can go from start to finish and everybody wants to see that. So it's not like a highly edited, always doesn't need to be polished piece. What I'm editing in my videos is I'm zooming it in post, and I'm color correcting and playing with brightness and things like this. So just so I can present it well. But no one's pulling the wool over anyone's eyes, because most of the guys discerning these videos to determine whether or not they want to buy the thing are doing that, and they want to see the full thing. So yeah, you need a good camera for flight, but what you really need is to have a good idea and an honest approach to sharing what you're doing. If you don't love it, you can't sustain it, because YouTube's a super hard game. You just have to love it. You have to be willing to share it, and then the rest of it will come. Like, I don't think either one of us were like, hey, let's be YouTubers. No. It was, for me, it was just like, me and Mike, the guy I started doing this with, we would watch these videos from Banana Hobby or Nitro Planes, and the guy would do an awesome review, and then he would be cutting off the landings or something. It's like, what aren't you showing us? Like, we want to know how to handle this.
Probably crashing every time he landed.
You never know. Listen, seriously, at a flying field, a lot of it's performance.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to look like a boob when they bring this thing in. So you want to know, how does it land? Does it roll out straight? Does it ground loop on you? How's it go? So we started doing our YouTube channel to kind of document this teaching we kind of developed, and also make the videos that we wish we were seeing, which were guys shooting touch and goes and landings and telling us, the best manual in the world doesn't tell you what, like, someone next to you might, about like, where do I put my battery, or how do you set up your control deflections to have a good smooth flight. And so we started, providing that. So just share your thing. I mean, that's the best thing.
You had a shout out from Pay It Forward RC.
Thanks,
reminding
Brad.
us that Saturday nights that you have your live stream, and you've been doing it a long time. That's another thing that you do, and you get a good crowd for your live stream. It's been ongoing. Tell people about that live stream you do.
Yeah. So another YouTube kind of thing. So studying, so left the company. I'm going to build my own personal brand. I kind of already was Pilot Ryan, just by mistake, from working for that company for so long and so steady. And I was like, yeah, all right. I love what I'm doing. I'm not going to quit, even though I'm not there. So I start studying YouTube, and it looks like I have maybe 7 to 10. If there's a list of 10 things to do on YouTube to succeed, I might've been doing 7 already, just by my own nature. And because I loved it and I engaged in the comment section so much, because really that's what's up. It's not just have a social media house, but it's like have the lights on to someone's home. Mm-hmm. So one of the ways I knew I could be consistent, regardless of the weather, regardless of if I could get a cameraman or whatever like that, was to do a live stream. And I was thinking initially podcast. And then I was like, I'm a video guy. Like, that's not going to work. This is very tactile. It's very visual. So I started doing live stream, and I've done like 110 Saturdays in a row of this RC Pilots Lounge. I mean, it's like Seinfeld.
That's impressive.
It's not about anything half the time. I mean, sometimes it is the new product, but like, I can go on there. The original intent was just to have interviews and things, but I'm pretty lo-fi, believe it or not. And so a lot of times it's just me and the community riffing off each other.
But that's where it can suck in some ways, but still be very worthwhile to people.
Oh, it's awesome.
Because the content doesn't suck and the community doesn't suck. But
and if I don't know the answer, I love
tier.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
We get new guys coming there. We got a wealth of knowledge.
I've tuned in since I found out about you. I've probably tuned in 15 to 20 times.
You've been there a bunch, man.
Yeah.
And you'll see what happens when we get a new guy. We never run them off. Like, we all just like rally around this person. We ask them the right questions to figure out where they're at and where they want to go. What kind of experience, if any, do they have already, and steer them in the right direction. and I'm an affiliate all over the place. I make money on clicks, of course, views on YouTube, but that's just cool.
It doesn't
awesome.
cost people more, and people that want to, they know it supports you. It's an easy way.
But the integrity of it all is the most important thing. So we always, I'm not shilling. So if a new person comes on the channel, all you guys know this is true that are with me. We figure out where they're at, where they want to go, and there's all kinds of different roads we can take them down to get them there, and usually give them a few options. A lot of times they're already got something in their mind. Yeah. So we talk about landings and all the things that are very difficult to do, and send people on their way with the best information we can give them. And usually I've already done a video on it. Check it out,
Yep.
Check it out. See what you think, and check out these other guys who are doing it too, because everybody's got a different, take.
Oh yeah. I like to talk about what other people are doing. And some videos will say I got this because so-and-so said it broke, or I watched them do it. I point to, because I watch YouTube, for my own benefit a lot of times too. Like, I'm trying to learn about stuff, even if it's stuff that I'm buying, I want to know.
Yep.
And that's, I think, what we try to do when we do videos a lot of times, is let people know. I don't consider myself to be a reviewer in a way. Like, I'm a user.
Yeah.
And you can watch my experience, and I'll tell you what my experience is, but I don't give it a rating. Like, this isn't this car gets an 8 out of 10. It does, body
that's
looks
the stuff
this.
that works the best.
Yeah.
You're like a super fan, right? Who's sharing your experience with it. And I'm like I'm just a super fan that's how this whole thing started. And I want to boast on you, because some guys have heard me say this before. Like, I found Tony because I was shopping the 4S Creighton. You guys know it if you've seen it. He took out the 4S Creighton, and he's taken out the what everybody calls the Mini Max, I think individually. But the video where you had them both together running at the same time Tony had me forever, because he gave me exactly what I wanted to know, and without any bias, without any shilling. He's just sharing his experience, and he's ripping it in his backyard, which is like a place that most of us can all be familiar with. And I saw that Mini Max roll and roll and roll and roll.
There's actually something else that's trademarked as the Mini Max by Traxxas. It just was trademarked August 14th, 2020. Wow. So Traxxas just
interesting
trademarked the Mini Max, which used to be an H&S Performance race tuner. And when that died, that trademark, guess who snapped it up?
No kidding.
So there may or may not be. That is the one newsworthy thing. And I did see that on, I had this tabbed for you guys as something to talk about. Harley talked about it. He had talked about it on the Scale News update. And so I did not find that tidbit. He did, but that is one kind of potential conspiracy. But anyway, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to jump your ship, but you did literally segue to that.
That was perfect. I mean, how could you not take that opportunity? But that's when you had me forever. Like, because I was like, man, perfect. I can bash him in the backyard. I see how this thing performs. Nobody's shilling me. It's just, I get to make my own decision, and price point and everything else. The Creighton won for me on that one, by the way.
Yeah.
Except you can't get a bloody spur gear for him. I got it sitting back here. I'm waiting on parts.
You mean the whole slipper or the spur gear?
You know what? It's been down so long, I can't remember.
If it's just a spur gear, get a Robinson Racing. Don't they make them?
I'll have to dig into it and see what's.
They might not have, because I did ask them about that.
It's been so long now that I don't remember.
I asked them to make a locked one. That's what I asked them for. It was like, get rid of slipper, Robinson. Just make a locked spur gear. We don't need that slipper in that thing.
That thing's a beast.
It is. We actually busted my slipper assembly, and I think what it was is I bought the rebuild kit, but I think that it actually stripped the inside of the actual two metal plates that hold it together, that have the threading. And so I bought the new screw and spring and all that, but it just kept loosening. But I think it's because what I ended up doing is red Loctiting it and screwing it back together. And so if I blow up this new one I got, I'll just stick that thing back in there and it shouldn't go anywhere.
I need to take it
Hoping.
apart and see what's really wrong. I can't remember anymore what
It shouldn't be because it has a metal spur gear on them. I'm pretty sure it has a metal. Does it? Does the 4S
I'm going to have to take it
spur
apart
gear?
again. I haven't had it's been down so long I can't remember.
I haven't had.
But
one
I've
apart in
been
a while.
through. I think that's probably my third 4S Creighton.
Okay.
Because at wintertime, I learned in the wintertime too, and I was breaking a lot of stuff.
Oh, that's tough.
But
Those those arms on that, there was something I think with the plastic used in some of those because mine snapped way too easy.
I've
I
had
put
some that
RPM arms on. Yeah, I put RPM arms on, and it's been a beast.
no looking back, little WD-40. But I had arms that were super brittle stock, and then others that lasted pretty good. So
it's hit or miss is what I think it really is. Like, yeah. And people are saying if you got the ones in the packages, they held up. But once an arm breaks, if there's an RPM version of it,
get it.
I buy the RPM arms. So.
Well, that's what's happened. Like I didn't know that yet, and I got I most of my Arma arms are gone now. But what's cool about the 6S stuff is you get all the interchangeability. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That was great because the 4S, the first stuff I was breaking was the granite, so they had its own arms, and then broke Sinton at the skate park. That had its own arms, I believe. Maybe it was the same as the granite, but
the Sentins are a beast.
They're pretty cool. I want the Mojave bad.
Yeah. I've been wanting it, and I don't know. I didn't get in early on it when and so here's the sucky thing with YouTube. Like, I didn't get in early enough in on it to cash in on like buying one. And so I buy so many that it's like, it was at that point, like there were other ones that I could cash in on and get views on. Yeah. And so it was like, well, this one's newer. This one's going to get views. So even though I want to buy this, I know I should probably buy this instead. And that's what happened to me with the Creighton. I've wanted a Creighton for so long, but they've been around. Like, yeah. And so new stuff was coming out, and my money that I'd saved, $600, I'd put towards whatever the new thing was. And then they finally came out with the EXB. I'm like, yes, a new one. And so I did get that. And I just have been too busy. Anything that requires building, as much as I want to think that I'm going to get it done right away, even as simple as building that one is. Yeah. I know that I've got to do the diffs and all that, but I've got boxes of builds to do. And that one's ready to run, but it needs to have the motor swapped. It's going to get mud trucked out. That one's got to be completely built. That's a SMT10 builder's kit. I've got a clodbuster over here that's got to be built for the J Concept regulator chassis. And so it's just even though I've just got to stick electronics in, it's tough.
I finally, so I started doing this stuff just this year. There wasn't any new stuff. Uh-huh. I've been in the Surface so short of a time that there really wasn't any new stuff for me to be able to kind of get in on until this last kind of round. I actually got the new Mega. Greg sent that one. That was a surprise. But the the Traxxas has been around, all those things have been around. And then when the EXB dropped, I was like, I'm in. And then the 8S Outcast dropped, and I'm like, I'm in. So those were the first two, in the Felony. Yeah. Those were the first 2 and 3 that I was able to actually get kind of in on that initial kind of buzz like you're talking about. Yeah. And for a minute, for not very long, but for a minute, I was the first guy to air out the 8S Outcast at all. Yeah. There was a lot of speed runs and stuff. and unboxings, but like, man, I took that son of a gun out as soon as I could and to the bike track or whatever, and completely was the it was super short video because it was out of frame most of the time. So I took it out a couple days later and ran it again. But you know, since then, guys have definitely aired it out. But yeah, check it out, man. That thing was a beast. And look, even I'm bending shock shafts.
Yeah.
But not to pick on the thing, but I'm gonna totally
get
it
out. And those things are heavy.
They're heavy, dude. And I'm totally into seeing it.
My Primal RC, man, I bend the shock shaft on that thing about every time I take it out. If I'm jumping it, like if I'm jumping it big, if I'm gonna do my send it ramps with that heavy monster truck, it's coming back with a bent shock shaft. There's just no.
It's just part of it,
man. It's like the monster truck dudes go out like they go out knowing they're gonna break something if they go hard.
Yeah.
And so if I'm bending a shock shaft, it's $5. Like
I'll spin it around for the next time.
Oh, this one's like this.
Oh gosh, that's bad.
Like right angled almost. And these are some of the biggest shock shafts you've ever seen, man.
Yeah.
So did you get upgraded shafts for you? Trailer Trash RC is asking. Did you get like titanium ones or anything? Do they make anything?
For the Outcast, not yet, but M2C has them. It's on my short list of things to get.
Okay. And they're just a harder steel?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, even RC dudes, I don't think he's bending them.
I need to see if they will make me some for the Primal RC. I'm going to ask them.
That'd be sick. Because Kevin would get some too. I guarantee it.
I guarantee a lot of people would buy them. RC Sparks is bending his too, man. So there's not as many out there. That's the thing. So we're going to have to pay more for them because there's not the quantity. And that's anything. People don't understand that. They're like, how does that thing cost $3,000? I'm like, because they're ordering them in small batches they can sell,
Exactly.
I actually think it's appropriately priced when you look at the metalwork that's in these things, but it's tinkering, man. It's a tinkering truck is what it is. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of working parts.
Yep. So, if you could call out a conspiracy, if there was something that you wanted to see happening or a new model of something or whatever, what would it be? What RC conspiracy would you like to see like start festering?
Well, I tell you, everybody's been hearing this rumor of kind of the low C monster truck. You know, that's exciting.
That'll get Trailer Trash going.
But what I also want to see is what I don't see from low C is everything's open wheel except for like the short course kind of trophy truck tenacity stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see like a basher, from them. I know guys are looking forward to, I think to see their version of a monster truck to do that with it. So I guess that's kind of, something would like to see. I think if they were in stock, I'd probably already have a DB Pro by now. I want to do something like that. Yeah. But I will tell you this, I had a Rock Ray for like 5 minutes and I was like, I don't want it.
But this isn't a Rock Ray.
Yeah, I know.
This is a short course. This is a Sentin that doesn't like parachute when you jump it. It's just controlled. It's such, it's so amazing to drive.
They look solid. I like how they're built, the components. I love all I love the Spectrum stuff. Yeah. It's
smart. Yep.
And so, yeah, I guess that's my kind of conspiracy. I can't think of anything, and I'm so stinking new to it all, really. So I'm happy with Arma. I want to see more, you know, but I kind of like the metal chassis from them.
Yeah.
I broke a bunch of plastic chassis, but I was asking for it and learning,
Yep.
And I like kind of digging on crawlers,
Yeah. The crawlers for me, it's very video game like trying to choose your lines and, and not roll over and like do over, I don't know. I just find, I think all RCs, I think that's how I explain it to people is it's like it's kind of like playing a video game that has consequences, right? So you mess up, you can break something. Like, you know, it's not like just start over. But a lot of times they're pretty forgiving. But it's just, I don't know. There's some thrill about knowing that it could break if you do something wrong. There's, I don't know. It just adds this edge to it. That's really fun.
I love. For me, I don't think I'm going to break the crawlers. You know, I haven't yet. But I'm not probably pushing them, and I'm not on really any hills. Like if I roll over, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
It's not a tumble down the hill very long. But being a video kind of mindset, the crawlers give me a complete different opportunity to do things and edit and play with music more than I ever really get to. And most of our flight guys want to see a full flight, and they're short enough you can give it to them, especially on a jet. We're giving them 2 full flights in a video usually. And then the bashers, it's a lot of editing too, you know, cutting out a lot of baloney because I don't want it to be too long. And so that's what I really like. I feel I always put the super chill music on the crawler videos. I've just done a couple because that's what it feels like to me. It's relaxing. I don't have to, I'm not usually going to break much.
Yep. The not breaking thing has really changed the way I look at cars in some ways too. Like we have those little, speaking of UTVs, Focus VA's asking, will the UTV ever take off? We have the little Can-Ams by Axteel, and they're just brushed, and you can get brushless for them, but you don't break anything unbrushed.
Is that the Yeti? Is that the little Yeti?
It's the Yeti Junior Can-Am. Yeah. They look like the little UTV side by sides. And I have one of them that has a Gravedigger cage on it, like they do the Speedsters for Monster Jam. And I ordered and sent stuff to Darkside, man, back in like April or May to have 2 more painted, not Gravedigger, but other monster trucks, Max D and Soldier of Fortune. Those are what my boys wanted. And I haven't heard anything back from him yet. I know he's been swamped. The RC has gone like, you know, it's elevated with all this COVID stuff. And so people are doing their project cars and all that right now. And so he's just kicking out paint jobs like crazy. So I've emailed him. I need to get back in touch with him and see what's going on. I hate like emailing multiple times to people. I don't know why. I don't like to pester.
Yeah, it feels like you're bugging them. I mean, I've got a handful of email accounts at this point, and it's like, it's unfortunately so easy to just if you don't know who it is or you're not expecting it, it's easy. So much spam. I tell you what I want to see though, is these felonies racing.
Yeah.
Like oval.
Yeah. I'm trying to get mine down to the oval track because the guy that owns it traded me for my old infraction, and he's wanting to run them together. So they do them on 4S out there because
that's
6S is way too much on dirt like that. And
what about rally cars? You ever do that stuff?
I had the Losi rally car, which was one of my favorite cars, and I just traded it for a Stampede 2-wheel drive Gravedigger 30th anniversary edition, just because you can't get them, and I had to have it.
Yeah.
And so I was willing to trade it, but that thing was one of the best driving cars ever. They don't really, other than Tamiya, there's not a lot of options. The Traxxas one's kind of meh, you know.
I kind of want to try. You know, I'm just learning this stuff, man. It looks like a good time. Yeah, I want to be
a lot of people doing it.
I want to be able to jump whatever it is almost.
Yeah. Yep. Even my crawlers, like that's what I liked about the TRX4s. It had that second gear.
Yeah.
You could go like Dakar Rally and you could jump it and like just tear up, you know, with it.
Do you still have you have a 10.3, don't you? Did you finish your
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm having motor issues, ESC issues with it. It's just going weird.
Are you gonna do 2-speed on it?
It is 2-speed
and
dig. Yeah.
I want to do that. Yeah.
And I had the 2700 kV axe system in it, but none of it's working. I powered on and it just like glitches and does a whole bunch of stuff. Something's weird with the power system in it.
See, I wanted to get a TRX4 for that 2-speed thing too. And then the Axial SEX 10.3 came out.
It handles so good.
And I was like, I got to get it out. I got one and unboxed it and ran it just a little bit on the wood and brick pile I got. What a crazy flex, loads of clearance. Yep. Those portals are super tall.
Yeah. And it's hard for me to know because I put in like a reef servo and this axe system that's just this, smooth as butter. But it's the smoothest driving, best handling, like trail crawler that I have and have ever driven, really. So.
And then, what do you think about the Gladiator, the longer one?
It's
that new one
looks cool. It looks real cool. I'm curious what that turning radius is like with that. It's pretty long, but
Sparks did a fun video on it. I'm like, oh man, that looks cool. But it's like you gotta say when sometime. It's like I still need to make video on this one. You guys, some of you know that 1941 Willys Jeep Rock Hobby thing.
Yeah.
I took that out with a deadbolt at 4 different locations, and that was like super fun. And I still need to do that with this gray Jeep, Rubicon I got before I can't really legitimize buying something else until I get videos done on the stuff I got. But I will say this, the Gen 8 Red Cat, I think is super dope 1/10 scale crawler on a budget.
Yeah. We did I go camping once a year. We just canceled it for this year. But with a group of guys that are in like this small Facebook group, because every Facebook group that you get in gets like so bloated and you stop paying attention because just too much comes in, you can't keep up with it all. Then you miss a bunch. And so we have this small group of like 10 guys. Might be less than that actually, but about like 6 or 7 of us meet up and go camping for a whole weekend. And one of the things they did is one of the guys brought 2 kits, and we had to all bring in like just spare parts. And we made 2 teams, and we built them, and then we went and did a competition with them. And I was surprised; it almost handled like the Axial Wraith 1.9, which is a really great handling out of the box car.
Yeah.
And it had like the steering, it wouldn't roll over very easily. It was really awesome. That builder's kit that they have, it's not really a kit. It's mostly finished. Add electronics and tires and a body and go. And it was cool.
Was it the Gen 8 or that other thing, that Wendigo or whatever?
No, it was a Gen 8.
Was it?
The Gen 8, they had a almost ready to run that was missing, the stuff that people customize anyway and don't want to spend the money on. Electronics, tires
right away.
Yeah. So it was fun. We got to, we had like a raffle and we got to pick tires out of all the ones that we'd stacked up and brought, and it was cool. We added a bunch of weight to ours, which really helped.
Yeah, I thought about doing that, getting the brass bits, but it does plenty good for me. And
I used to do the stickers, man, the sticker weights.
Okay.
I mean, you can get them on the axle. If you want them on axles, you got to do other things, but we were doing mainly chassis weighting and all that.
I think I'd love the International too. Anyway, it just looks awesome. Some of you guys will know the Snow Star, real truck from International, yellow and white. There's one that had an extended bed, kind of long. And then there's one that looks more like a, Bronco or Blazer with the cab, with the truck cap. But my grandpa had one for real, had the snowplow on the front, had the lights on the lid, just awesome. Yellow and red, had that front, International end. That's why I think that new Bronco looks so cool. Mm-hmm. It throwback and also reminds me of, the International. So it's like, I had to get that Gen 8 just cause International. Yeah. But I mean, that's also why the deadbolt looks cool. It looks like,
I love the deadbolt look.
That's a great truck for no portals. I think it's an excellent crawler. Nothing to hold the wheels up. It's just open wheel kind of. It's a good one. My kid loves it. I can't get rid of it even if I wanted to.
Yeah. I have the little one, the 1/24 scale, and I
we
just
got
love
those
that
too.
truck.
We got
So,
those too.
We've got all of them, and I thought that I was going to like the trucks the best, but I just still love the red cat, or not the red cat, the deadbolt.
I call it the Red Bolt.
Yeah.
It's right here under your Alien, man.
Oh, okay.
I got that in the little yellow Jeep, but the Red Bolt does way better. Just because nothing, there you go. Just because nothing's getting in the way. Nice. I did a video on them. I did a 3-day collab with some other guys where we did a bunch of budget RCs. One day we all did these SCX 24s. And then you see the boat right under it. And then we did like a smaller budget thing that had some speed actually. So I played with the Mini T, and one of our buddies did the Yeti, and then that little Lucas Oil like short course stadium truck for like $50.
Nice.
So yeah, that was my buddy RC Air Marshall did that, and then Mary Boozers did the Yeti. We had a good time that cool. 3-day weekend budget stuff, but yeah, I had those crawlers in the toy room, outside, like all over the place, on the couch.
They're fun. That track that they had at Axial Fest was the best. And I'm bummed. We were going to hopefully meet up at RC Fest this year, and they just canceled that. I
told you next year I'll help you film at Axial Fest because it's like 2 hours away from me. Yeah.
That's cool. So where are you at? You're out of Illinois?
Close. South Bend, Notre Dame territory.
Okay.
So I'm 2.5 hours north of where I'm from. So I'm really close to the state line. South Bend.
Nice.
Yeah.
That isn't far for you then to get to Axial Fest. And it's not far to go to RC Fest either, is it?
No, Champagne's
last year?
Nope. Champagne's probably 4.5.
Okay.
Hours,
a little bit further.
Yeah.
So you're 2.5 hours the opposite way of.
Yeah.
Because they're not far from Badlands either, but you must be the 2 hours must be the opposite way of Badlands, I guess, or down. You're south
I'd have
of it.
To look at it again. Yeah, definitely south and east of it.
Yep. So they had a couple of hour drive or so. I think they had to get there.
Yeah, I think it's in the middle of us, kind of between me and them.
Well, we'll get ready to wrap up here. I don't want to keep you too late. It's 11:20. Any questions in the chat you guys want to ask before we go? What is your favorite RC, both plane and car? While we're waiting to see if there's any questions that they have.
I'll answer the car first. If I had to pick one car to keep around, man, I kind of think 6S Creighton.
Okay.
Man, just so nasty, capable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It flies like a beast, and you can still flip it around, you know. And as far as the airplanes go, that's always a tough one. But and it depends on the mood. There's stuff for just ripping it up, and then there's stuff for taking it easy. I mean, like think about the equivalent of for me, the crawler vibe for an airplane is like a kind of a low wing, civilian looking, nice and easy plane that you can throw it around, put it in do all kinds of stuff with it, and it's never going to sting you. It does it all really slow. It's real easy to read the language of what it wants to keep it flying. And then there's kind of the hot rods. Like I consider the warbirds. If you look at these heavy metal fighters from World War II, they just, to me, seem like hot rods of the sky. Heavy metal, just loads of power, a little harder to fly. They're like a good step of chill to jets, which are a lot more like pucker factor. They fly faster. Everything happens quicker. So if I just want to go aggro, I'm going to just rip the face out of like a jet or like a warbird. If I want to chill, I'm going to grab a civilian plane. So somewhere in the middle, if I had to pick one airplane, is where I would lie. I think a P-47 Thunderbolt, which is the World War II bad mamma jamma, would probably be
like the Hangar 9 P-47D. Or is there different?
You know, I'm a foamy guy, like electric. So the Hangar 9 stuff is awesome. But like the scale fidelity, to be honest with you, on scale looks and authenticity as far as being replicated, think about what the construction methods are. So like a foamy aircraft, they can mold in the rivet detail and panel lines so true to scale. It's just amazing. And then with the motor systems, we can have 4-bladed scale propellers on them.
Okay.
If you look at like a gas plane or a wood built up plane next to a foamy plane, the foamy one actually always looks better because they can really get the lines right. And then you'll have the scale 4-bladed propeller. To me, a guy who knows warbirds, you have this big, bad looking P-47 like a gas plane with a little tiny 2-blade prop on it. It just looks wrong. And like being, if it's smooth and you don't see the panel lines and the rivets, it's for me, a guy who's been up and close and personal too. I grew up in an aviation family is how this all started for me, really. So the foamies are where it's at for me, you know, 6S power, FMS P-47, 1500 millimeter Razorback would be like one of my top contenders to, if I stuck on a desert island, you know what I mean? It'll do everything, land well, and all that.
The one that I've always wanted for some reason is the Corsair.
Yes.
Every time I see it in the shop, I like want to walk away with it. And they always told me, don't buy that. You don't want one with the wings low, I guess, as
the
anything
gull
to
wing.
start with, right?
Yeah. The funny thing about that is the gull wing is not aerodynamic at all. The reason they did the gull wing was to give the prop the clearance it needed. So it's to get an elevation on that engine. So the gull wing is not there at all for aerodynamics, which is hilarious. Most of those World War II fighters shared the same power plant. Okay. A lot of them did, which was kind of interesting. It's a R2800 double row Wasp from Pratt and Whitney. And so like all the single engine fighters had this same engine. So the Corsair, the P-47, Hellcats, anything with a radial engine shared that same engine. And then when you got airplanes like a Spitfire and a Mustang with like a spinner nose, they had, instead of the radial, it was an inline situation. So you see the stacks coming out the side, a lot more streamlined, air induction somewhere else, usually a chin scoop or a belly.
Just you know a lot about these planes. Are you a plane guy in general? Just regular aviation guy?
Yeah.
Did you go to the aviation museum when you lived out this way? Was it around?
I did not. And I was young and dumb and really just probably rocking and rolling. And if I wasn't at work, I was chasing girls.
Right.
So
my son loves it. We go multiple times a year. He's totally into everything. Well, World War related, any war actually. I mean, he's like a super history buff at 11 years old. Like what this kid knows is insane. From ships to commanders to all the different war generals, all this. I mean, like insane. What he's grasped onto and what he reads. But so we head there all the time and look at the plane. I've actually got a virtual reality video on the Aviation Museum on my personal YouTube. So.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's neat. I grew up at every year we did the Oshkosh Air Show. They call it Air Venture now, but it's one of the largest gatherings of these historical aircraft in the world that happens around August every year. And so my grandparents raised me. My grandfather flew for a living and then for fun. So he had World War II trainer airplanes. We still have them in a hangar in Muncie that I got to be a little kid growing up in the back seat of these things. And there's nothing like, you guys know the same deal applies to getting around hot rods and old cool vintage cars. There's nothing like the
I'm from Michigan, man.
The smell of the oil, the sounds they make. That's why I think vibe with this surface thing, because there's this cool just nostalgia, appreciation. It's just like we all got our man cards, I feel like, you know, and which is just good company to be in. And so, yeah, the air shows, I definitely love aviation. And for me, the whole thing was really just kind of a way to stay a kid, a throwback to being a little kid, growing up in the back seat of these things and being around them and the smells and the sounds. It's kind of it's a crazy big family vibe and throwback for me, which has my attention and now will for forever.
That's awesome. Well, guys, if you haven't already seen, down in the description below, I've got links to all of the Pilot Ryan media, social media. You can go to his website as well, which is, I just moved the page. It is pilotryanmedia.com. That's easy enough. I should have just gone for it. I didn't want to get it wrong if it's just like pilotryan.com.
Yeah.
But he's got that as well. And you can actually, from there, go anywhere.
That's
can
right.
Go to Amazon, which again doesn't cost you any more. It's just your normal Amazon. But if you go there from his link, you help him out with affiliate, I guess.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Affiliate monies. What do we call it?
It's
like
commission.
A commission.
Yeah, it's just like when there's links in the description.
Yep.
I put this website together to make it like, so when I'm doing and I'm not trying to hold you up. When I do my live stream, we're talking about loads and loads and loads of products also, just like you. And I don't want to drop links all the time. I just so I created this website where all the things all the people, the brands, the things I have going on are in one place. You click those branded icons and you can go right to the website. Whether you don't have to go to a video description to find it and click it. It's all right there also, along with video descriptions. But I thought it was a good thing to do, so I didn't have to feel like I hate feeling like I'm shilling this stuff, but you have to do it. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I put them in mine too. And I just write in there, that it does help me out. It doesn't cost people anything extra to do it, to use them.
That's right.
If you're already going to get it and you don't have a local hobby shop, I always push that first. If you got a local, that's the best. If you don't have a local, we're your local.
We're your local because we're in your pocket.
Yep, we are your local. And so, but I love being able to go to my local hobby shop, so I try to support them as much as possible because it's awesome to have a place to go.
Totally.
And hang out with like-minded people, see and touch and feel all the stuff. That's the one thing I'm hating about electronics now is there's so much of it that you can't just run to a store and see it all the time anymore. And it's like, before I buy it, I just want to make sure that the quality's there. Like you get a laptop and not all laptops are the same. Some of them just feel plastic,
yeah.
And some of them feel quality, the keyboard and all that. I just want to touch them and see, but
we don't buy enough of it to trust it. Like if it's an Arma thing or a track thing or whatever, you know what you're going to get kind of like, that's what's great about brand recognition, but we don't buy enough computers. It's a tool you got to have, but you don't want to have to spend the money,
Yep.
So you just don't know what to expect. You got to go play with it and hold it and see it.
And we try to do that as well for you guys, so to give you what we see and feel and some of the stuff that you may not have heard of. But yeah, thanks for coming on here, Ryan. And
thanks.
It's been a blast, and just got to know you recently from when you reached out to me, and from that said, wow, this guy's cool, down to earth, my kind of guy. And so yeah, it's cool to be able to introduce you to some of the people that I hang out with in my little realm of the YouTubes here, and one more face that they can get behind and trust, because your on-road stuff's awesome now. Like
thanks, dude.
The surfer stuff I've been seeing.
Yeah, thanks, man.
The that 8S Outcast, you've been ripping that thing up at that little BMX trail. And
next video, the big pinion.
Alrighty.
I did the first run. I didn't even calibrate the thing, and then the second run, I asked for all you guys for advice.
Yep.
And I think it was you and some other guy said max punch.
Yep. Move
the brake to 62.5, and that's what I did. Next run will be the big pinion.
Nice. Well, very cool. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, we will see you next Tuesday for another RC Conspiracies. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.